All right. I nearly said 1-0 then, because actually I'd fucking completely switched off by the time that second one had gone in. Oh, this sucks, doesn't it? But not unexpected. I was just on the watch along there for Paddock, and the start of it, I was like, I think I'm already in the grieving process of us not fucking winning here today. Didn't expect us to win. But as the game went on, you're like, we're only a goal in this here. And I really felt like we twisted towards the back end of the game, and I felt like we went to try and get that point. I think we actually really fucking went for it. Unfortunately, as we twisted and sent everyone forward, which is rare for us. I mean, even David De Gea got to the halfway line, didn't he, for that corner at the end. Wasn't enough. Dan James hasn't really clearly been at the fucking Brandon Williams tactical foul in school. And we allowed him to score right at the death, making it seem a bit more comfortable. And do you know what? It was comfortable all the way through for him, to be honest. 2-0 probably is a fair reflection. But the fact of the matter is, we were in the fight for a draw at times. Andreas Pereira had longer studs on. That might have made a difference. If Tony Marshall had got his shot on target, that might have made a difference. There was opportunities for United in the game where we could have done better. And I think the biggest opportunity for United to do better, and the one thing that I will say that has to be laid at the coaching staff, Ole, Mike, McKenna, Carrick, all of them, is we don't learn. Or seemingly we don't learn quick enough, at least, I would say, when it comes to when we're making mistakes. Against Manchester City, I saw us pressed to death is the only way I can describe it. And I was really worried coming into this game that the same sort of thing would happen with a Liverpool team that does like to press from the front. They did press us. It didn't have the same sort of effect that City had, possibly because we had two players that can play out from the back if needed. It wasn't Phil Jones and Lindelof, it was Maguire and Lindelof. But they still pressed us and they still made it difficult for us to play it into midfield. When we got it into midfield, I mean, I'll be doing it on 5 things we learned. I'll be going in depth on the stats for Andreas Pereira, but he may as well have not fucking played. The contribution that he gave with the ball at his feet was fucking woeful. It was terrible. And we didn't have good decisions going through. And that alone, I think, if you swap out a couple of the players that we had, I thought Matic was okay. And, only really Fred was good. Everyone else was just okay, or worse. And I think if you'd have brought in Scott McTominay, if you'd have brought in Pogba, and if you'd brought in Marcus Rashford, I think we would have seen some real fight from United that might have actually took the game to them a little bit more and could have got something. But I will say that the handling of the set pieces, the way that we didn't learn from how Manchester City pressed us in the League Cup game the other week. But the first corner that we conceded, essentially Van Dijk scores from it. And he's up against Fred and Williams. That was never a good idea, was it? I mean, when you look at that Liverpool team, you go, who's going to hurt us here from a set piece? Who's going to hurt us here from a set piece? And you go, it's Van Dijk. That's literally what he's known for, isn't it? So we didn't let him. We didn't mark him. We allowed him a free run at it, and by the time Maguire had clocked onto it, too late. Okay, that can happen. But what's unforgivable is like the next 3 or 4 corners, it's Fred and Williams again on Van Dijk, and you're like, fucking hell, lads. I know we have set play routines, but where's the on-field leadership here? Where's the coaching leadership to go, actually, do you know what? Do you know what it says on the fucking sheet? Scrap that. Let's go man for man on him alone, right? Just that thing. That ability to change on the cuff, that's worryingly missing. And it took us till half-time, and then actually it was Fred and Matic that was marking Van Dijk at corners from then on. Or at least in that zone that he was occupying, because clearly we're not really going man for man. That for me is the most disheartening thing, is that, one, I think their goal was probably preventable. The one that would have left us in the game right till the death if it hadn't have gone in. And two, that we did a decent job stopping their overlapping fullbacks, which is a major threat that Liverpool have. They carved us open at times. They dominated possession. Of course they did. That was always things that was to be expected. But it's one of those. In terms of the Marcus injury, yeah, I'm getting a bit of shit on social media for it. I think you all know my connections with the player. And I didn't get told what was going on. In fact, I got told the opposite of what's going on. I don't know why. I don't know if they just didn't want it leaking or the club was going to decide what the script was. But yeah, got stitched up a little bit there. Bad one. There is some other info, which I'll be sticking in the Patreon group later about players going on loan. There's quite a few players that are going to be going on loan. So I'll bang that into the Patreon group later today. Get your questions and stuff in for us. I'm going to come to the Patreon group for questions over in a second. Keane's just nearly weighed Carragher in. What's he said? Didn't see it. Zonal marking is on Carrick and the coaches. It's on all of them. It's even on the players themselves. Like I would expect someone like Maguire, who's so effective in both boxes at Leicester and for England, I would expect him to have some sort of input into this. And if it's not working, then I don't expect you to be disobedient, but I expect him to speak up and say, "Look, I think there's a better way of doing this." Just goes to show how much we need an attacking mid. I wonder if Ollie plays Matic to prove this. I don't think so. I think he tried to do what he could to win this game, and we weren't good enough. We weren't good enough when that team sheet came out. I don't know why anyone's shocked that we didn't actually manage to win the game, full stop. So it fucking sucks, doesn't it? It'd have been nice to be able to give them a bit of a snotter on their way to winning the title, but they're winning the fucking title. I actually don't even know what... You're talking multiple things that need to happen, and it'd be such an unprecedented... The only thing that's going to do it is like World War III, literally, or some sort of incredible points deduction, which just doesn't happen. So, like, just start telling yourself, brush your teeth in the morning, Liverpool are winning the league, just fucking get over it. And by the time it comes to May, you'll be like, you're still going on about that? Shut up, Jesus Christ. We need to sign players. Do negative United fans frustrate me? They do, yeah. I mean, you've got to be objective there. And people go, you're lowering expectations. Yeah, maybe. Or just being realistic about who we are. Because if I still think that, no, Manchester United are the team I grew up watching in 1999, we're the best team ever, and, well, it's just wrong, isn't it? It's just provably wrong. We've got progressively worse since David Moyes. And arguably, Fergie got us over the line, not in the best of shape anyway, but we've got progressively worse, and the squad has been weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened. So you get to the point where we're at now, where you've got this inexplicably, majorly expensively assembled squad, but when you look at where the expense in that squad is, it isn't here. Look at all the money that we've spent on this squad. I could probably pull out like 400 million in a handful of players. Lukaku, well, he's not here. All right, yeah, we got our money back for him, but like when people say how much this squad spent, they don't account for what we recouped by fucking selling the exact same player. Di Maria doesn't play here. The wages that we spent on Sanchez doesn't play here. Even like middle of the road kind of buys like Schneidlin and Memphis and stuff like that, and Herrera was 30 million, and they don't play here. Some of the big buys that we've had do not play for Manchester United. So when you're talking about how expensively assembled this squad is, they're not here. I've seen a couple of people complaining about the substitutes. I'm not bringing Juan Mata on against Liverpool away. Like, I'm trying to... Look who they brought on. They brought Fabinho on. If I'd have had a Fabinho, he'd have started. But we don't have a Fabinho, let alone to start him, let alone on the bench. You bring in Juan Mata on because it's a case of like, oh, fucking no options, man. You bring them on, and that's that. You bring on an 18-year-old in Mason Greenwood with all the pressure in the world on him. I don't think he cares about the pressure, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, but these are our options off the bench. The first 11 isn't good enough, the bench isn't strong enough. That's that. The pressure's got to go on the board. We're clearly in for another midfielder. Why are we in for another midfielder? Because we don't have a good midfield. I could make a fucking very strong case that we need to sign not one, not two, but 3 midfielders. I think we need a number 10 because none of the number 10s we've got are good enough. They've all got good attributes in one area, but none of them are well-rounded enough or quality enough. You know, they've all got a major flaw in their weakness. What's Mata's major flaw? He's not old, but he's slow. What's Jesse Lingard's major flaw? Well, he works hard, but his quality's not there. What's Angel Gomez's major flaw? Physically, he's not good enough. He doesn't have the experience. He's got loads to learn. What's Andreas Pereira's major flaw? Well, actually, technically, he's a pretty good footballer. Physically, he's not bad. It's fucking decision-making of a fucking toddler. All of those players are what our options are. We have to go with the least bad option. You don't have a Maddison or a Grealish or someone you can't wait to fucking see pick the ball up on the edge of the D. None of those players have got it in them to pull out a bit of magic time and time again. They've all got the ability to do one bit of magic on an occasion. And that's why we're inconsistent for me. Then I look at, we have somebody like Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's another player that essentially doesn't play for us. If you had a player of the ability and talent of Paul Pogba available, you'd look fantastic, wouldn't you? He would make a tangible difference to this football team. But he doesn't play for us. So you need someone that does what he does, which is what I personally think is what Bruno is coming to do. But then I still think you need your box-to-box destroyer, a Milinkovic-Savic, a Niguez. You know, somebody in that sort of ilk, to be honest. Even, or he's a slight bit more attacking. I like what he offers in that sense in Tielemans. Somebody like that. We don't have that person that's got that quality. Even Scott McTominay, you go, all right, Scott McTominay does that destroyer role quite well, and he does do it quite well, but his ability on the ball is pretty limited still. We're making do in so many areas that you can go, I can make a case for us to sign three midfielders, three midfielders, let alone a case that I could make for us to sign a winger, let alone a case that I think that we've definitely got for another striker. United probably need 5 players from now, minimum, to be able to start even thinking about talking. And that's assuming that the management and the staff have got it to be able to do it. I think the ability of the management often reflects the ability of the team that's at their disposal. There's things that do impress me with Ole, but there's a lot of things that don't. And I firmly do not know if he's the man. I think he's got the bad guy role, unfortunately, at the moment. And his bad guy role is to completely dismantle this team and then probably make it right for somebody else coming in on the back end of it. But I don't know that. I don't know that that's going to be the case. Right, let's have a look at some of the questions over on Patreon. Where are we? Is Salah Shaw's favourite opponent? Always seems to step his defensive game up against him. Well, he's also freed up from attacking on there, isn't he? Thoughts on Shaw? Thought he did all right. Yeah, I thought he did all right as well. Mystical Sup says, Marshall man of the match. It's a weird way to say Fred. How fucking good were we considering? I wouldn't say good. I thought Fred was probably the only good player on the pitch, to be honest. There was times where Maguire looked decent, but good. I got a higher standard for good, I think. How do we score for the next 2 or 3 months with Rashford being out? I'll find out tonight what the actual script is on that because, it's one of them, innit? Do I think if we had Pogba, McTominay and Rashford today, we would have won? I think it would have been easier. Why do we continue to defend corners, and when we do, we've conceded the joint most goals from corners this season? Oh. Honestly, that needs to change. I mean, we all definitely laughed when Liverpool appointed a fucking throw-in specialist, but it shows that they're trying to be excellent in certain areas. We're not even trying to be fucking mediocre in some areas. United definitely needs someone who is an expert in set pieces because we're shit. And you can definitely improve on shit. Would a better holding midfielder help with defensive shape and stop the centre-backs being pulled around a little bit? Yeah, it probably would have done, to be honest, but I thought we coped okay. We limited them to quite a few chances. Not quite a few chances. It's quite few chances. But yeah, I mean, we just don't have the depth, and it's not just like the quality of the players that we're able to pick in the starting 11. It's the condition that they're coming into this game. It's been relentless of late. Would I take a Premier League match-fixing scandal if it meant Liverpool didn't win the league? Yeah. How's it going to get any better? Can I see light at the end of the tunnel? You just got to bring better players in. Bruno could honestly be the difference with us, and I actually think it's legit about that they've just suddenly parted ways on the price. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a last-minute attempt to try and posture, but this did happen with Leicester, and it sort of happens with a certain extent with Crystal Palace, so it might just be the case that, we posture and posture and posture and pay what the fuck we was going to pay anyway. Unfortunately, it might just drag out for an extra couple of fucking games, which is not ideal for us, is it? But Bruno himself could be the difference between United finishing 5th and 4th. And for me, that means that there's no excuse to not go and do it. If it's an extra 5 million, okay, I understand the club's stance if this is the stance. I'm presuming this is the stance. I understand the club's stance if this is the case by saying we're not just going to fucking always pay that extra 5 or 10 million because that just runs away with you eventually, doesn't it? And I'm not going to advocate for us doing that. But what I will say is that might be the difference between us getting into the Champions League next year. Now, from a pure business point of view, that means a shitload more cash. It means more sponsorships. It means easier to attract players to sign for us going forward. There's tons of tangible reasons why you definitely need to go and do that. What island do we move into in May? North Central Island. They're going to kill us on site. That's where we want to go. Why are we so shit at defending corners? It's just not acceptable, is it? Can everyone not overreact, please? The internet is definitely going to do that. Vinith says, actually proud of the boys. Had we taken our chances, we should have got a point. But if anything, it shows how weak our squad is and needs heavy investment. Does the result push the panic button for Ed and maybe make him pay the Bruno fee? Doubt it, unfortunately. Should we hire some scouts and analysts to start scouting a new medical team? Did you say that United are hiring first-team scouts? Don't know what to make of that. One of Fred's best United games. It was a good game. I don't know if it was his best. How would I line up with Scott, Pogba, and Marcus out? I want to see us change from 4-2-3-1, but do you know what? Yeah, fuck it. So 4-3-3. If you get Bruno in, I don't think Matic, Fred, Bruno's the worst midfield in the league. So I would like to see us go with that. If we don't recruit in January, what's the point in recruiting ever? We are at rock bottom in terms of the level we are playing at and depth of quality in the squad. Would you either offer... How's this for a fucking twist? I mean, you can't do it now because you can only move once in a window, but the final part of the question is, would I offer Dortmund the buyout clause money for Haaland? Oh, now that's a fucking twister Rooney nobody saw coming, didn't it? It'd be interesting to know what the actual buyout clause is. Does anyone find out what the buyout clause is? All right, I didn't mean like right this second, but maybe we should start looking for what that buyout clause is. That'd be fucking funny, wouldn't it? It's actually us that ends up doing the fucking buyout. Interesting. And how needed would Haaland have been now? Marcus is out, no problem. Tony, you're back on the left. Haaland down the middle. Sound. With Rashford out, do I think United will be going for a similar run as when Marshall was out earlier in the season? Yes, kind of panicking with that one. 50 million euros, 42.7 million pound is the clause. Should we have a whip round? Get that, won't we? A couple of hours. Wow. Yeah, that's a fucking hell of a thought. Interesting. Do I think the subs are a little late, and why do I think Dan James' output has fell off a cliff? Dan James had a mad start to his career at United. I'm going to let him go through this dip of form. He's had to handle everything. I'm not going to read that Craig Pawson comment out because I reckon it's probably fucking libelous on some level, but cool. How did Roy Keane think that wasn't a foul on De Gea? I don't know. Keane's strange. As much as he's a legend. Halvey says, in the last minutes we were trying to get across in the box. Why is Maguire not in the box? Not like Matt is going to score a header against Van Dijk. Great point. Jake saying, do I think we'd have done any better playing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2? Just let Liverpool's wing-backs and wingers hurt us. I don't really think it was. I'll have to check out the average position stats, but I don't think it was a back three, realistically. I think it was the back four. How do I rate Brandon's game tonight? I thought it was okay. I would have liked to have seen him on the ball more. He got into some pretty good positions and he could have hurt him, but so many times both him and Wan-Bissaka was in great areas and we just didn't have the player that had the ability to hit the ball to him, and that's damning, isn't it? Was Fred the best Brazilian out there today? Yeah, let's say yeah. We've got a super chat here which says Decore, Ward Pros, Rice, Neves, etc., etc., etc. All players on teams lower than us that make our midfield better. We need to get depth that has quality and start using the youth. I totally agree, my mate. How relieved are we that we didn't fold after conceding? Plus took their two best attackers off. Must show they were nervous towards the end. Yeah, they'll never mention that. That they crumbled against us and looked after the league. But it is what it is. I wouldn't have complained if we did the same and came out with a 2-0 victory in the end of it. How do we become more clinical in front of goal? I mean, let's be fair, we didn't have that many chances, did we? We didn't have that many chances. We just get more chances and suddenly you look more clinical, even though it's not technically accurate. How fucked are we going to be when Rashford's out for a month? We don't sign anyone this window. Double fucked. Where's nice to go on holiday in May? Do I think this is the best we could have done with a team that were out there other than the blinding miss by Marshall? We could have nicked a point. You can't really complain that we didn't nick a point. We're the only team that has nicked a point off them so far this year. As much as it fucking hurts, that's just the truth of the matter, isn't it? It fucking blows, but it is what it is. Like I said, 5 things we learned is going to be coming out in the morning. There's going to be some news later on today when I can be asked fucking posting it about what's going on with the loans. But cheers for tuning in. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I've got Ollie K on the warm down tomorrow. That's going to be a fucking right laugh in it. I'll see you in a bit.